How's everybody doing? Okay. I'll have a few brief remarks. I'm going to keep them really brief, and then I'll open it up for questions. And I think I'd just start by saying that the guiding light for any decision we make around here will be what's best for our student athletes and our university. Fans will be a close second, but priority number one is our student athletes and our university. Doing what's best for the guys in the locker room was the mutual ground Chris and I found in order to come to an amicable resolution. I knew I shouldn't have put that word in there. Our Board of Trustees and ULAA board members agreed this was our best path forward, thus we're moving forward. And so with that, we have come to terms and agreed to a mutual separation with head coach Chris Mack. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
We have microphones here, so just when you have a question, just raise your hand.
Josh, who initiated this on? Was it your side or was it his side when this process got going?
It was mutual, and you're like, how can that possibly be? But I stay in contact with representatives of our head coaches and a number of assistant coaches, and so we had a conversation last week about just the state of the program, and quite frankly, asked the question, what happens if this thing doesn't turn around? And I think everybody in this room has watched our men's basketball program, and over the weekend realized that was probably the direction we were headed. And so continued those conversations on Monday, and essentially had a proposal that we presented to the board, obviously, today.
Dalton Godby here with WDRB. Just wanted to know, when exactly did those conversations with Coach Mack start? And also, can you provide any details of this agreement?
So let me start with the details of the agreement. Wanted to actually try to get it in front of this group. Something you'll learn about me is I'm going to be very transparent with things. I think I've said that to this group before, and want to continue to be that way. But unfortunately, we wanted to make sure that it was actually signed and executed before we got it out to this group, obviously publicly. And so we should presumably see that here in very short order. As far as terms, it's effective immediately, and it's the settlement or the agreement is $4.8 million between this fiscal year and then the 3 future fiscal years.
Josh, with 3 level 2 violations alleged against him, you were possibly in position to fire him for cause and save $4.8 million. Why did you choose not to?
I think you look at everything in totality and try to make the best decision that you can. And on one hand, you had $12.75 million at stake if he was let go without cause. And I think we need to clarify that. It's not $12 million. It's $12.75. And that's, I don't know about you guys, but $750,000 is a lot of money to me. And on the flip side, you can sit here and say it's zero, but it's not zero either, right? Who knows how long that's going to go as far as the NCAA case. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to bet on the NCAA wrapping up anything quickly. And so that's why we came to terms that we did.
Josh, who will hire the new coach, and how do you even get that process started with so many interim people at the university at this point?
So obviously trying to get through today, and then worried about like I said, the guys in the locker room. And so I think it's worth noting that Mike Pugis is going to serve in the interim role. I think a lot of people just presumed that because he did that earlier this season, but did have that conversation with Mike yesterday evening. He looks forward to the challenge, and veering off course a little bit relative to your question. As I was talking to the team today, the one question I had for them is what were their goals at the beginning of the season? And one of those was obviously to win an ACC championship, and we still have half of an ACC schedule remaining, and so I would contend that those goals are still in front of them, and so that's going to be their focus, obviously, with Mike as their leader. As far as moving forward, it's my intention to hire the next head coach. Somebody could change that on me as far as naming a permanent AD and it not being me. But right now, I intend to obviously consult university leadership and plan to make that hire.
As a follow-up, do you anticipate changing the terms of Mike Peguese's contract at all since he's taking on kind of
Yes.
a new role?
To follow up on that, do you have a timetable for making a move? And obviously recruiting is a big deal. You'd like to obviously probably like to have a permanent coach in place for the next regular season. And what was your conversation like with the players? What was the mood in that room when you talked to them about where this program is going from today forward?
As far as timeline, I would tell you we'll wrap it up when we find the right coach, and I would expect that we will try to do that quickly, efficiently, because to your point, it's extremely important that the guys in that locker room, this community, know who the leader of this men's basketball program is. As far as the tenor of that meeting, look, it was sad, right? You had a guy who gave his heart and soul to this place for 4 years. And he had built some real relationships with those guys. And obviously his staff felt the weight of that as well. I felt the weight of that, and I feel the weight of it talking about it right now. It's difficult to talk about because you think about just the time, energy, effort that a head coach who coaches a program at this level, that they put into this. And for him to say he's no longer going to do that, yeah, it's sad and it's disappointing.
Josh, you mentioned that the NCAA process is not necessarily fast. Given that and the interim nature of the leadership here, how do you view the job that you're selling, the job that you have to offer to a candidate?
One of the best in the country, unequivocally. It's one of the reasons I came back here, because of all the opportunity that this athletic department affords, and I've had the opportunity to have I've had one conversation with one head coach to this point, and not asking if he was interested in the job, just as a friend, and flat out asked him, as an outsider who hasn't spent much time in this community, what are your thoughts on the University of Louisville head coaching job? He said unequivocally top 10 in the country, not even close. And so I think that we'll get some of the best, most highly qualified candidates in the country.
Josh, right here. Going off of that, what is the top trait or characteristic or a couple that you're looking for in a candidate for this job?
I think it's everything that makes a good head coach, right? And that's not just X's and O's. And I would tell you, this job is difficult, right? There's a lot of pressure in that position, and there's a lot of things that you have to navigate internally, externally, and so it's got to be somebody that has a vision to compete at the highest level, at the elite level. I think everybody understands that the expectation here is to win national championships. That's not going to change. I think it's somebody that has to be able to communicate to fans, to stakeholders, donors, to folks on campus here, to folks inside the community. And so that's going to be very critical. I think it's going to be somebody who just comes in and embraces this town. I'm a huge believer that you have to embrace the community that you're part of. And if you can do that, you can really start to fit in and really, quite frankly, be successful.
Josh, to clarify, the conversation picked up speed after the Notre Dame game?
Let me make sure I get my dates correct here. So I don't know if they picked up, right? Nothing intensified here. It was, like I said, I stay in communication with obviously our head coaches as well as their representatives. And so going back last week, had a conversation, and then moving forward through actually through the beginning of this week.
And quick follow-up, was there any consideration, obviously there's going to be a lot of attention on the program, Duke is coming to town this weekend, and making this move now when the program is going to be on the national spotlight with Duke and Coach K coming to town?
No, I don't think future games played into this at all. It was really a matter of timing as far as coming off of that game Monday night, providing really an open week to discuss some things and make some decisions.
Two-part question about NCAA. How do you see the timetable of the IARP decision affecting candidates and the uncertainty that goes with that? And second part, does a history of NCAA violations eliminate candidates for this job?
So as far as timeline, obviously, I don't know how it's going to play out. You're starting to see the IARP cases come to a conclusion, and so not exactly sure what that timeline looks like. And they've given us an idea, but I can't comment on that right now. And then as far as ask your second part, sorry, Tim.
Would a history of NCAA violations eliminate a candidate, given your history of NCAA issues?
I would tell you that I am going to want a coach that has the highest level of integrity possible.
Is the buyout going to be paid all at once or spread out over time?
It's spread out between the end of this fiscal year or the remainder of this fiscal year and then 3 future fiscal years.
And if you have a question, let us get a microphone to you. Thank you. Any others?
So, like, Josh, what have former players told you about what they want to see from the program going forward?
I think they want to see, they want